Howdy, folks. Let me take you back to a very interesting point in history. March 14th, 2020. Me and Connor had just finished the first 7 episodes of our second season of Film and our first season with our 30-minute structure. And the first annual Andes had just been released. We talked about Twilight, The Crazies, Birds of Prey, and The Invisible Man. And we were heading into our planned 2-week hiatus over spring break 2020. Of course, our second half of season 2 never happened. We all went home from college in Vermont, and we didn't see each other for months. And this is a familiar story. Most kids our age remember that year. Me, Connor, and Steve spent our final days before departure doing what we'd always done, watching movies, eating ramen, and biking through the halls of their dorm. But those days were numbered, so what were we to do with these final times together for the foreseeable future? Well, with Steve, we watched 1990s Ghost on an actual VHS player in the common room of their dorm. And when it was just me and Connor left, we sat down with some Domino's pizza, and on the night of March 14th, we had one of our most iconic and memorable double features of all film school career. 2013's Spring Breakers and 1979's Apocalypse Now. And we had a crazy idea. A Spring Breakers Apocalypse Now double episode? We planned to do it whenever we came back, because really, we still thought we might be coming back, that there'd be a chance in a month or two that we'd finish season 2. And, well, that never happened. Connor went back home to Indiana, I went back to my apartment, and 2 weeks later, I decided to start this YouTube channel, purely as an archive of our first 2 seasons, and, well, now here we are. So, 3 years later, we have come to an interesting milestone. 3 years since the end of our original run of Film and episodes, and 10 years since the release of Spring Breakers. So, what better time to return to this movie and think back to probably my most divisive film screening of all time. So, here we go. This week, a decade ago, 2013's Spring Breakers.
Well, you're actually here in the very beautiful scenic state of Indiana where the cows scream.
Where the cows scream.
That is a reference to our film school career.
Yes.
Due to the fact that it is the Andes season.
It is.
And we happen to be doing the Andes stuff on the 10-year anniversary of Spring Breakers, like you mentioned. A movie I first saw roughly 9 years ago.
Interesting. All right. Well, yeah, we are talking about the 2013 Harmony Korine film Spring Breakers. Now, it's technically a 2012 film because it debuted at Venice in 2012, but its U.S. release saw a March 2013.
So
okay, so this was your third watch.
My third watch over the course of 9 years.
It was my second.
Yeah.
And Erica joined us, and it was her second and a half.
Second and a half, yeah. She watched it all the way through, watched up until Selena Gomez left, then was like, not for me this time around. And
Selena's not even here anymore.
No, faith's gone, Dan. When you lose the faith, it's hard to keep going.
When you lose the faith, what can you do?
Yeah.
For us, this is a relatively kind of open-ended episode. We have just watched Spring Breakers.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a very fascinating film. The premise, at least for me, always wanted to talk about this. And my premise for the 2020 episode that I had roughly planned in my head was, I have just seen 2013's Spring Breakers. I'm not sure how to rate it. Do I give it 4 stars or do I give it 1 star? I did not know. I could not know. It was such an arresting film experience for me at the time. I couldn't make up my opinion. So when I was rating it just to have it and to log it, I just cut the difference and I said, okay, it's a 2.5 because I don't know how to feel. But this time around, I've now rewatched it 3 years later, and I think I know how I feel about it a bit better. But yeah, I mean, let's get into it. If you just want to start at the beginning, I mean, the film kind of starts with this interesting tone setting scene of this montage of spring break. It delivers pretty quickly on the spring break of Spring Breakers. You know, we get that insane.
We get the Skrillex and the dubstep. Yeah.
and
Well, Skrillex and the dubstep.
Yeah,
What a
on
pseudo thing I just said.
𝕊𝕚𝕣𝕚𝕚 Beach.
𝕊𝕚𝕣𝕚𝕚, that's what it's called?
It's called 𝕊𝕚𝕚𝕚 Beach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We get this opening scene that's kind of like a microcosm of this film's environment before bringing us into what I would say is the regular world.
We're going back to University of Kentucky. Yeah.
Yes. They're in Kentucky.
Yeah,
I never made that connection.
It's only a couple times you see Selena Gomez wearing a shirt that says Kentucky, and then later Vanessa Hudgens has the same shirt. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if it's Kentucky University or whatever, like just random school in the
Kentucky
state.
college, because Faith, who is Selena Gomez's character, is a local.
Do they say that?
Well, yeah, I mean...
Well, she says in this town. I don't know if she's referring to, like, the town their school is in.
Maybe not, like, the town the school she's in, but, like, I got the sense she was from the area. But I found that really interesting that you kind of have this, okay, this is what the film's going to be, but we're not getting there yet. Mm-hmm. Here is your prologue. It was kind of like the film was giving us an overture of sorts. Where we get, but instead of a black screen and like orchestral music, we're getting Skrillex and this
shots of naked women,
naked women, and just dudes doing beer bongs and like all this crazy beach party. It's a very bombastic way to start, but it's accurate. It's the right way to start that movie, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Selena Gomez is the protagonist of this film. Her and her three friends decide to go down to Florida for spring break.
Yeah.
And the film circles around their experience and meeting a particular character who lives in that town, Alien.
Who is a native of that town.
And I was very interested being able to watch the college scene because I knew we never go back to that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, so how do they show the real world, the regular world, not the spring break world, in this movie? And I was just trying to examine that, and it is kind of just so monotonous.
Yeah.
And like weirdly melancholy anytime you're around Selena Gomez. And it's her character kind of just being unhappy with life, looking for something that's more away from this monotony, which she finds in class, which she finds when she's like with her religious group circle, which the leader, the guy, the public speaker, was originally going to be Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, which
would have been great.
Which would have been so great because he's only in for like 2 minutes.
Yeah. 2 minutes, like, has one kind of pseudo monologue and then it's gone.
He's like, are you down for Jesus? You feeling jazzed on Jesus?
I would have loved, it's not Ed Hardy. I would have loved to see Val Kilmer in an Ed Hardy shirt talking about Jesus. That'd been pretty great.
Would have been awesome.
Would have been pretty sick.
I think what really blows me away about this film, and this is the first thing, because I'll spoil it for everyone listening, I liked Spring Breakers this time around. I was very confused the first time, but this time I knew contextually, I knew what this film was going for and what it was about, and I liked it. I think it achieved it very well, you know?
Yeah.
And I think what's great about it is it kind of captures that feeling of how we all feel about the idyllic spring break experience that we kind of dream of in high school. Like, oh man, college spring break is going to be so cool. Me and my buddy Connor, we're going to go down to Florida, just the independence, the beer, the sex, the parties, the music, the lights, just like literally just adrenaline and vice and wild, unsupervised, unconsequential abandon, right? Yeah. Like that's what this is.
It's an escape from your real life. It is a dream. For a week, you get to be someone else without responsibility.
Yes, and consequence.
Yeah. And without
which
consequence.
Is really big.
Yeah, it's huge.
The lack of permanence is what allows you the lack of consequence. Yeah, that's what this is in this spring break town.
It's a dalliance. To use a SAT word.
There you go. Bring out the big guns.
Exactly.
The big literary guns.
You get to do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about it later because that's a moment that really struck out to me this time is Selena Gomez's character Faith talking about fun and how there was a big lack of consequence. Mm-hmm. And when I'll bring it up now. Why not? The scene in the parking lot, about like 30 minutes in, a little before they meet Alien, where they're recreating the robbery at the chicken shop.
Oh, and it's the first time she kind of sees...
She sees them for who they are.
Yes.
Open your mouth. Open your mouth, bitch. Who was in the car? I was in the car. I was sitting there looking out for all the motherfucking police.
And we in the back. We just open the door and we go. Get your motherfucking knees on the fucking ground!
What'd they do?
They fucking got on the ground.
You gotta learn, man. It's amazing.
Stick with us.
It's the best way to live, man.
And you'll be a Goonie too.
And you'll have all this power, and you'll have all the money you want.
And I had this really fascinating dissection. There was this one point where I think it was right before that scene, I started typing more and more because I had this idea of what this film kind of is. You were like, man, you're taking a lot of notes. And I was like, I am. I have a lot of thoughts on this movie this time around. And that's pretty much the scene where it begins to happen. I would argue Faith is one of the only real people in the film. Because her friends, Cotty, Candy, and Britt, I believe they are not real characters, in a way. I kind of look at them, obviously, like they have their own thing.
They're more like tools in the plot as opposed to actual people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see them as kind of sirens or banshees or kind of demons that lure Selena Gomez's character, who's like the symbol of purity.
Well, because I talking about that a little bit too, is years ago, there was this seems like an off tangent, but I promise it makes sense in connection to what we're going to talk about.
Go ahead, bring it in.
Years ago, our freshman year of film school, Spider-Man Homecoming had just come out.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a rumor that Jake Paul was going to play Harry Osborn. And people would be like, that's terrible. That's a horrible idea. And I said to Clay, friend of the show, Clay, on second episode, we talked about Joker. I said to him, Clay, that's genius casting. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, if they play Harry Osborn as like Peter's friend he had when he was growing up, but they grew apart, but they still kept in decent touch. And everyone's like, Peter, Harry's a terrible guy. You can't talk to Harry anymore. He's terrible. And you're like, well, no, I know Harry. I've known Harry since I was a kid. He's not a bad guy. That's what the three girls are to Selena Gomez.
Yes.
They're friends you've grown apart from, but since you knew them so young, you have that deep connection where they can't be bad people because you've known them since you were a kid.
You knew them in the very innocent time, and that
you
image
still look at them
isn't
that
gone.
way.
Exactly, that image isn't gone from when you interact with them. We, the audience, are kind of given a look into who they actually are and who they've grown into before Selena does, and that's with the robbery, the diner robbery, which is this amazing one shot of just slowly the driver, the getaway driver, slowly goes around the building, and we see the three girls go through with the masks and the guns and just are harassing all the diner people. In this, just they go from room to room, and you see every character, and then we get to see it again later when they're explaining it to Selena, and I'm like, God, what a cool scene, because it's that thing of this sort of suspense they play with when is Selena going to see this?
Yeah.
We now see it. But Selena, in a way, is our audience surrogate.
Yeah.
She's experiencing this, and we're with her because we're like, this is kind of insane. This is crazy, and it's only going to get worse, you know?
Yeah.
And this is kind of my idea behind the film, where the three friends, Cotty, Candy, Britt, bring Faith in, and she's the one who has her doubts. She's with us, essentially. But halfway through the film, and this isn't a spoiler, she leaves. She gets out, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I have another theory.
Gosh.
I know. I have a lot of theories about this film because it is kind of abstract and dreamlike. But essentially, she leaves. And it's not enough movies that have the wherewithal to do that. Because when you remove the audience surrogate, our friend from Spring Break, from this movie, we are left. She's abandoned us. And now we are stuck in Spring Break.
All reason has left us, yeah.
Exactly. And now we are kind of the fifth member of the group who doesn't have a choice to leave. So we have to continue to see this downfall and like diving deeper into this really seedy environment that Spring Break occurs in. And we're wishing Selena took us with her. Please, Selena, come back, please, you know? But we're stuck. And and you just see these characters get more and more beat up.
Yeah.
And more warped in really interesting ways.
This is cliche, but we stayed in the dream long enough for it to become a nightmare. Is like basically what it boils down to. Yeah.
What was interesting is I was actually starting to realize this film has a really specific structure. And I put it in, it's a 4-part structure. And I do kind of, I know we never went to spring break.
No.
You and I never went out to Fort Lauderdale and just went to Ragers.
Dan, my spring break for my entirety of the college run, with the exception of the COVID time, if COVID never happened, I would have stayed in my dorm the entire week watching movies with you.
Yes.
That's what spring break was every time I had spring break.
Yes, and one time we made a short film with Steve.
One time. Sophomore year we made a short film with Steve. But regardless, other than that one day we made a short film that still never has seen the light of day. I think has never seen a premiere profile. Other than that one day, we spent it watching movies.
Yes.
And that spring break we shot the movie. I was actually with Steve and his now ex-girlfriend, and we did, Dan. We watched movies.
You watch movies. Well, that's kind of what we do here in film. That's what we do. The film school style.
I was in the middle of my cowboy phase, but other than that, for context, Cowboy Phase's Red Dead 2 came out. By the way, I
recall.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite memories of fall and spring of sophomore year was watching you play Red Dead.
Yeah.
𝕊𝕣𝕖𝕒, check it out.
Check out this one of the highest selling games of all time. In case you haven't heard of it.
But let's take a look at the actual structural integrity of Spring Breakers.
Yeah.
And tell me if this holds up for you. I don't particularly want to relate it to this amazing work of medieval literature, but Dante's Inferno. The surface of the earth is college. The first level, tier 1, if you will, is the beach and the hotel room. Their hotel room, as well as the beach and the party, where they go, where all the surface level, most people who go to spring break stay in tier 1, right?
Yeah.
And then it is not until this kind of entryway of the pool hall, the first scene where they have now gotten in with the people who live there. That's tier 2.
Well, I would say jail is the second tier. I would say even the courthouse.
I would say jail and the courthouse is the walkway.
Pool hall
to
is
tier 2.
Pool house. You're there.
Yes, that's getting arrested, and they're seen when they get caught being drunk and disorderly or whatever, doing coke at the party.
Yeah.
That is them transitioning into what it's like to live in this. Not to visit, to live. And then I would argue the final tier, which is pretty much the rest of the film, starts at Alien's house and descends further, because this is like the castle. The castle in hell.
Yeah.
This is kind of the home base. And
you become one of the brides of Dracula, basically.
Literally, yes. Yeah. And it's just pandemonium. It's chaos. It's people fighting each other for no logical reason, and just seedy.
Yeah.
Neon.
It's excess and greed.
Exactly.
And lust. It's
all the base sins.
It's all the sins.
Yeah, it's all the sins. So, yeah, how does that hold up? You think that's correct?
It's a pretty good
descent,
analogy.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's definitely.
It has stages. It's not just a straight line down. You're going through tiers. That's how I felt this time.
Yeah, they're walking down the steps until all of a sudden it turns into a slide, kind of.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they're caught, and luckily Faith is able to crawl her way out.
Yes.
And then Cotty is able to like we said about them being sirens. And I think I agree with that metaphor up until Cotty gets shot.
Yes. Then that's where it kind of breaks.
Yeah. And then very quickly she becomes a real person again.
Yes.
Once it's no longer fun. Once she realizes, there are consequences. I can get hurt.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because I think the end of the movie kind of reverses that again. But we'll talk about that when we get there.
If you dig deep enough, you break out through the other side.
Yeah.
But I mean, there is so much to discuss with the details, the bones of this film, because I mean, we just watched the making of Doc, kind of in preparation, but just like, hey, let's
you were
check
eating
it
pizza.
Out. I was eating pizza. Let's watch this. And being able to hear how Harmony Korine described his process of making the film and also his goals with the film was really enlightening.
We're gonna change the world, y'all. This is poetry in motion, big booties and money falling, y'all.
I've been wanting to make a movie in this way for a while. Like, I'd been playing with this type of structure, and this thing is like more like a liquid narrative where time is more free and jumping forwards and backwards. And the movie was more meant to mimic like a drug experience. It was more like a ride or a physical experience than anything. Almost more like micro scenes, things that were very quick but then extended and looped in some ways. Maybe the movie is more musical than it is, or experiential than it is like traditionally narrative. So it's like a stew or a chemical, reaction. You put all these things and you start to put locations and outfits and characters in one place, and then you shake it up and you document the explosion, and things go here and things go there, and you just...
It is. There's so many lines of dialogue that fit so well with basically how the film was described. Like, one of my favorites, pretend it's a video game, like you're in a movie or something,
Yeah.
And that's before the robbery.
They're prepping for the robbery, yeah.
Prepping for the diner robbery, and they're prepping for their escapism. They're like, we need to do something fake to get to somewhere fake,
Yeah.
And that's very telling, because the whole film feels like it's people trying to forget that life is real,
Yeah, trying their best to forget life is real, yeah. Because we're dealing with a very like subdued version of this, like in our lives today, where it's like we've now graduated college, like we have no excuse to not be adults anymore.
Yep.
Like that's why people go. No offense, people who are in grad school currently, but my big thing is like when I flirted with the idea of going to grad school, I was like, well, I have no reason to go to grad school.
Same.
That's just me paying thousands of more dollars to delay the fact I have to be an adult.
Yep.
And now we're being adults, and these 4 girls. That's exactly what they're doing. You're having 1 week where there are no consequences. You go to a different state where you're anonymous. There's hundreds of other kids who are going there for the exact same reason, and there's no consequences. You can drink and party and have sex with strangers you will never see or hear from again. They don't exist to you after that week.
Yeah,
that's what that is.
Basically.
Yeah. And now these girls want to live in this reality, and once you get past the first level of hell, when it's like, it's fun. It's like, it's kind of warm, but it's fun.
Party. We're having fun, yeah.
It's kind of hot.
It's kind of crazy and steamy.
Yeah, it's fun. You know what I mean? Then once it doesn't become fun, and there's people like the 3 girls who is like, it's still fun.
It's still fun.
Alien is not like anyone they've ever known before.
No.
He's not like the very shallow, like shitty bros who they go to school with. This guy is interesting. He's a little sweet. He has a lot of money. He's
very complex.
He's very complex.
He
likes them. He thinks they're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He bailed them out.
He bailed them out of jail. He
Even
got rid of their consequences yet again.
He is kind of like a trickster or a devil in that kind of way.
Oh, dude, he is a trickster god completely. Yeah.
That's exactly how I get the sense of him. Is these girls are starting to see the consequences of their actions. If I can remove that from them, they're going to keep living in this dream. I can provide that because that's what I've been doing for myself, and I do it best.
Yeah.
And it's very like, whoa, here we go. I mean, you see him in the back of the court. We were joking that he just goes to court proceedings.
He just loves court proceedings.
Yeah. Look at my memorandums.
Look at my memorandums. I'm not going to try to do alien impression.
Yeah,
but I made the joke like he just has the transcripts of like Roe versus Wade and Brown versus the Board of Education.
Exactly.
He just loves Supreme Court cases.
Yeah. But I think one of my favorite parts of watching this film, specifically this time, is just us, the viewer, all given this level of suspense that a lot of films forget to give us when they're doing a film like this. And it's the fact that we see things before characters do, especially the characters that we relate to. And it's kind of what I kind of describe it as is the harmony Korine of it peeks through. And I'm talking about these quick, unobtrusive shots of just dirty toilets and people passed out on tile floors, where I feel like maybe partly he can't help but look at the grime and the grit of this place, but it's also a warning to us.
Yeah.
But it's so quick and it's so packed into all these really fun, exciting people in a hotel room doing drugs and grinding on all these hot, sexy bodies that you kind of, your brain almost can't process it in time.
Yeah.
Where you see someone passed out next to a toilet.
The cotton candy like fades for a second.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, what was that? And like, it makes you think that you're in this dream, that you've shaken out for a second. And you're like, wait, what? Like something was trying to warn you, but you didn't process it in time. And that's how we are put in the mind spaces of these characters. particularly Faith, like particularly Selena Gomez.
It's also a thing where once Faith disappears, the movie does become more abstract in its editing too.
Exactly.
It's always been a little abstract, but like the gun cocking sounds and the quick cuts, like get a lot quicker once she's gone.
That gun cocking sound.
It's insane. Yeah.
Like in between nearly every scene, every transition. And there's some really good ones too.
There's some great ones.
Yeah, where was it a lighter?
It's a lighter, yeah.
It's a lighter that goes into.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh.
Fuck you bitches looking at, man. Y'all wanna die tonight? Y'all motherfuckers wanna die today? I've been looking for you. Where the fuck you been? You been hiding? Listen, these are my streets, man. These streets belong to me, not you, motherfucker. I should kill your stupid ass. You need to know that. Get that through your thick fucking skull, man. This will be a good night to kill somebody, man. The guy could probably shoot you in your motherfucking face. Merry Christmas.
I shall pose a question now. The mantra of the film, Spring Break,
Spring Break
forever. What does that mean to you?
I think it exactly means we've been talking about. I think Alien is living in Spring Break forever. And he wants these girls to be with him in Spring Break forever. He wants them to be a thing where these are now like basically like I said, the wives of Dracula. Like these are his, I mean, to use a colloquialism that Alien would use, these would be his bitches.
Yes.
And I think that's what he wants. He wants somebody to basically like just sit on the throne with him, I guess, and just to live this carefree lifestyle. And when he says them, Spring Break forever.
We so rarely see Alien alone.
No.
You know,
we never see Alien alone. I don't think if he's not by himself he's in a crowded room. The shot we see Alien alone
is the piano.
Is the piano like the Three Little Chickies song?
Yes, when he's just contemplating what he's going to do
in the courthouse. He's sitting by himself in the courthouse.
He's in the courthouse, and even then, crowded room.
Yeah, crowded room. But when we see the times we see Alien alone, it's either shrouded in darkness, completely playing the piano, or it's just like his eyes and his mouth, like a hungry wolf.
Yes,
like he's seeing his prey.
It's really interesting.
He's seeing his Three Little Chickies.
Oh god. So another kind of striking moment around the midpoint of the film, and this happens when we have two of the girls. It's Vanessa Hudgens and the other one.
And Ashley Benson.
Now, Rachel Korine?
Rachel Korine is
Rachel
Lottie,
Korine is not there. She's still there. She hasn't left yet.
That's my guess, is that scene was supposed to be later, but
Yes.
we'll see, yeah. We won't see. We'll never know unless we talk to Harmony.
We transition from having 4 to 3 to 2.
Yeah.
And we're left with Ashley Benson.
Because Dan,
and
one
Vanessa
little
Hudgens.
chickie got shot in the arm, so she's got to go.
Yes. And there is a Britney Spears needle drop. And this feels so fitting when you consider the public reputation of Spears at the time.
Yeah.
The spiral, the breakdown. How does that fit into this film, you think?
It is I hate that it is as poignant as it is. It is a very sort of like nihilistic view of like Britney's downfall, which if there can be even more nihilistic view of what culture did to that young girl.
Yeah.
Where she was forced into the mold of, you have to be this sweet young girl and you're going to be a cool pop star and a great role model for kids.
Yeah.
Oh, you have thoughts and opinions? That's bad. And then people start to sexualize her. She's like, okay, well, this is what people want. They want me to be sexualized. And everyone's like, how dare you? How dare you not be a good role model for my daughter anymore? And then she just, for lack of a better term, it drove her nuts. Like that kind of pressure would wreak havoc on anybody. I'm sure that's why Harmony Korine cast Vanessa Hudgens and Selena Gomez. I'm sure that was his big motivation for it.
We've seen this in real life. It's almost like a documentary-esque moment where it's like, remember what happened, movie viewer? Remember what happened to Britney Spears? This is what we're talking about. This is the kind of environment, the kind of headspace that sort of facilitates this. Because there is this base yearning to not think about consequences. And when you have an individual who offers that, who is a role model, who is like something to reach. Britney Spears was someone people wanted to be or be like.
Well, it's also the meta commentary. I don't know if I told this earlier with I love American Hustle. I think the movie's genius, but I struggled.
American Hustle, David O. Russell.
Yeah,
yes.
I like the movie a lot, but I think the movie is genius. But I don't know if David O. Russell did it entirely purposefully.
Yes,
With Harmony Korine, I don't know if it's entirely purposeful, But it is an interesting way to look at it, Dan. There's a very unique meta commentary here with what we're talking about, how people, they were like, oh, they would start to sexualize Britney Spears, and they got mad when she was sexualized.
Yep.
I think he's commenting on the fact that there are parents and older kids and younger kids who are now watching this, and the older kids are open like, oh, dude, Selena Gomez is going to be naked in this movie.
Yes. Oh,
Or
Vanessa Hudgens.
be naked.
Yeah.
The High School Musical girl is going to be like, I feel gross even saying it.
Yeah, it's
but the
really
point is, but I think that's Harmony Korine's trying to do. He's trying to like get that as a selling point for you to go in, and then you are supposed to feel disgusting and feel guilty for wanting that.
Yes.
And I think that's why a lot of people don't like this movie, is because it makes them feel gross, and that's the point.
And do you know what other film came out in 2013 that perfectly encapsulates this exact thing of people who, the point is to feel gross, but I think did it less effectively? Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, Wolf of Wall Street was
Wolf of
like,
Wall Street is this.
it was the
but with,
ideal.
Yes, with like $150-200 million budget.
It's
to
the
make
Fight
it.
Club thing, where
It
Fight
is.
Club's supposed to be a condemnation of this kind of masculinity, but everyone's like, dude, fuck yeah, Project
Yes.
Mayhem. Yeah.
Like, I remember reading how Scorsese went to a screening that was in New York City near the Wall Street district, and it was just full of like dudes, business major dudes who got companies at their uncles or dad's businesses on Wall Street with connections, and were cheering the entire time for the film. And Scorsese had this moment of kind of being horrified, like, "Don't it? I made it too fun."
Yeah.
You know, because at least there was consequence and there was ugliness to a film like Goodfellas, which shows the perks of, you know, being a gangster,
Yes,
but it shows the
but
downfall.
it shows the downfall.
Wolf of Wall Street is just fun, balls to the wall, quaaludes, and insanity. It's like, because it's a comedy too.
Yes.
And it's just, it goes over people's
in
heads.
Belfort's fall, while substantial, I would argue, like Jordan Belfort still is okay today.
That's the issue. It's too
Henry
true.
Hill is he did not end well in that movie. Jordan Belfort, like, yeah, he goes to prison, but he goes like this like white collar jail, and now he makes his living as a motivational speaker.
Yeah, spreading the message.
And if you read the book Wolf of Wall Street,
No.
Here's the thing: reading that book, I couldn't finish it because
Really?
it is obviously it's written by Jordan Belfort. It is an
Yes.
autobiography, and he in the book, like when he talks about these people, he ruined their lives. He's bragging.
Yeah.
It's I've seen
It's
this shivers
nuts
down my
out.
spine thinking about it.
Yeah.
I couldn't finish the book. He's talking about like these fucking idiots. I've seen
Yeah.
everything they got. Me on my boat. They're sitting in their home on their lawn chairs, and I'm like,
Yeah.
jeez.
Just trying to be happy.
But here's the thing, that's the kind of guy these people idolize.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I don't know, maybe Jordan Belfort's like had a come to Jesus moment, and maybe he's doesn't view it this way anymore.
Yeah, who knows, man.
But-
I mean, he's a dad. So,
Is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he's a dad, and I think I remember seeing an interview too with him. Like, he seems a little different. He still seems
Let's hope.
really.
Let's
he
hope.
still seems like really
Oh, I guess
confident
he
and
had a
braggadocious.
kid with Naomi. I guess why'd I say like he's a dad? I knew he's a dad. Duh.
It's in the movie.
Yeah, I forgot. I thought he made like another kid. Yes, of course, he's already a father.
Yeah. But bringing it back to Spring Breakers, I think it does that exact same thing, and I think the message can be lost just as easily in that same way. But I still think it's more effective than Wolf of Wall Street. Do I like it more? I mean, based on the bones of making the film and editing and shot and character, like, yeah, I think I like Wolf of Wall Street more as a movie. But Spring Breakers has a more effective message.
Yeah.
Because it's speaking to us, all generation, way more directly just by us watching Vanessa and Selena do these things and go through this world.
To a
you
lesser
know?
extent, Ashley Benson.
Yeah,
Who, like,
Ashley
became
Benson,
big
too.
after, well, air quotes big in our generation after that.
Yes.
With like Pretty Little Liars.
I think this also brings me to, here's the thing. I've made comparisons of Spring Breakers to Dante's Inferno and many other classic works of literature. It feels like a very classic nature, gussied up, dressed up in modern, like, sheep's clothing.
You gonna say Alice in Wonderland?
No.
Okay, because like Alien's pretty very clearly the Mad Hatter.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. If we're just going into like, yes, we this movie goes to Looney Land and we see all these people bring
It's
this.
just like Space Jam.
Yes.
They go down the golf course hole.
Exactly. But no, I look at it as it is almost a little Shakespearean in a way.
Yeah,
it's
it
like
is,
classic literature.
It's tragedy. Yeah.
Yes, but what I see most, if we're going through classic literature, I believe this is a modern Southern Gothic film. And Harmony Korine is a modern Southern Gothic artist Because if you look at the Southern Gothic genre, its original wave is obviously about how the South lost the Civil War, and their industrial base was basically shattered, and you have all these people living in the aftermath of it, and there's this decay, right? I think this is a natural progression from that original Southern Gothic culture, whereas it has now become something much more temporary and cheap. It's like a tourism joint in this specific corner of the South, right? And I think that's one of my favorite lenses to look at this movie under, is the Southern Gothic lens of like, and Harmony Korine, look at Gummo right there, right? And I'm sure his other films have influences of it.
I've only ever seen this in Beach Bum, because
Really? I haven't even seen Beach Bum. I've seen scenes from Gummo because I was like dangerously interested, you know?
Yeah, Harmony Korine is a guy that I should watch Kids eventually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, obviously he didn't direct that, he wrote that, but
That was his breakout.
yeah, his filmography to me has always, like Rob Zombie, has always just felt so abrasive.
Yes.
With the exception of, well, Spring Breakers, I only watched back in when I was 14 years old, 10 years ago.
Oh my God.
Well, yeah, I'll tell that story in a second after I finish my point here.
Yes.
But I only watched that because of what we just alluded to a little bit ago, where I was in the Disney Channel era, and I was like, Selena Gomez and Vanessa Hudgens are in this adult movie? That's like, and now here's the thing, when you're 14 years old and you're a young boy, young white boy especially, who likes movies, you're going to be like, oh, I love edgy stuff, man. Oh, I can't wait for Wolf of Wall Street. I'm so amped.
Yes.
Same year, by the way. I didn't even realize that. That's crazy.
Yeah, same year.
Yeah. I was like, I can't wait, man. I'm so excited. And yeah, and I saw it for that reason. And the first time I watched Spring Breakers, I talked to you about this. I talked to you and Erica about this yesterday. But the first time I saw this movie was 2014.
Yeah.
Not too long after the DVD came out. I got it from a Redbox. I was staying with my sister at the time. She lived in Kentucky, ironically. And I watched it at 2 a.m. I started it. After watching this other movie that we got from the Redbox, which was this weird, like, straight-to-DVD, like, dubbed movie about, like, vampires, I think. And my sister was going to watch both of me, but she couldn't finish the vampire one. And then she left. And I was like, I'm not going to watch. I'll start Spring Breakers. And I don't know why, but I think I had the beginnings of a cold, or I just felt really sick. Maybe I had like bad food or something. But I was watching Spring Breakers, like half asleep, like feverish, at 3 a.m. And I watched its entirety. And this movie can feel kind of like nightmarish when you're like wide awake.
Yes, it can.
But when you're 14 years old and you feel sick in a state you've never been in before at 3 a.m, it's a very bizarre experience. And one I'll never forget that experience watching that movie like that.
It's similar to my experience of first watching this, March 14th, 2020, with you, disorienting.
Yeah.
That is how I just would describe any first watch of this. Because you go into it, and I went into it with the same thing of, oh, this is just trashy, accessible Spring Breakers. It's like I was expecting a comedy, like something poorly written and just kind of slapped out there with some famous names on it to like, oh,
you're expecting more satire than commentary in a weird way.
Yes, but what we got was something abstract and experimental and just so different. And I don't think I could have processed it at the time. It's taken me years to think about it, and a second viewing now, which has helped. I want to finish off on one major point of the film, and it's something we've bounced around, but it's something that I think needs to be discussed because it is one of the most intriguing parts of this film, and it's James Franco.
Yeah.
It's Alien. He is this character who bails the 4 girls out of jail after they get arrested. Instead of just staying 2 days in county, they get out, and he leads them down the primrose path to this very weird, his life of spring break forever. And oh my God, I mean, what's really cool about James Franco in this is I barely see him. I mean, granted, look at the grill and the cornrows and the sunglasses. That helps that I'm literally, his face is obstructed and changed, but this is truly one of his most immersive roles. Like, it's gotta be, right? Like, what else?
It's well, Tommy Wiseau.
Tommy
and stuff
Wiseau
like that.
in Disaster Artist is also pretty up there.
There's also, when you get to the James Franco complicated figure, I'm not telling anybody anything new here.
Oh, yeah.
But when you get to his parts that are a little more grounded in harmful stereotypes, which you could argue Alien is grounded in harmful stereotypes. I think it rises above it a little bit. I don't think it's like, yes, he's playing a caricature of this, like, that kind of guy.
Yeah.
But it never reaches the point, I think, of being offensive.
For me, he's never offensive because he's never being something stereotypical.
Yeah.
He's not just ripping things from the headlines. I think he puts himself in an emotional headspace. He looks at where these people actually come from that are like the aliens of the world.
Yes.
And he's able to riff off of that because he's a talented actor, you know? Like,
it's not like something, I'm showing Dan a photo right now. It's not like The Sound and the Fury, which is a movie he directed. Yeah, where he plays somebody. I've not seen Sound and the Fury. I've only seen the trailer.
Yeah.
And from the trailer, I was like, oh, sheesh. But that's a movie he directed, Sound and the Fury, where he plays, remember this family, a brother who's a significant age, I think he's like 30, who has a developmental disability.
Yeah.
And when you just see this photo I showed Dan, which he laughed because it's a ridiculous photo of like James Franco wearing like false teeth. And yeah, James Franco, this isn't the Franco cast, but very interesting guy. Had a lot of not great stuff surrounding him, especially in recent years.
Yeah.
A very educated person. Got a degree from Harvard.
He's
taught at UCLA, I believe.
God, he's so fascinating.
Yeah.
And he really is not he's really not afraid to take risks with his characters either.
Yeah. We'll have a special guest in a minute, maybe.
Awesome. Yeah, Erica's never been on film.
Never been on a Watch to Read.
That doesn't count. Man.
Doesn't count.
Hasn't been on.
She hasn't been on the Radio
Rialto.
Film and Family podcasts. Yeah. No Friends of Film podcast for Erica. Do you know about Friends of Film?
No.
My very first podcast that lasted 5 episodes. That freshman year, yeah.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know me at the time.
Oh, I didn't know you.
You didn't know me at the time, yeah. Friends of Film. My first podcast lasted 5 episodes.
See, I broke my podcast radio show cherry with Film and Fall of 19. I had nothing before
Film and
that.
only exists because a mutual friend of ours was like told another mutual friend of his, hey, you should consider Connor for that show. And then
Yeah. Jeez. So we do have a special guest, the third person we were lucky to watch Spring Breakers with.
The love of my life.
Yeah, the other host of To Watch to Read.
But James Franco, very complicated guy. I think he's incredible in this movie.
Yeah.
So Erica, do you want to give us your thoughts on James Franco's performance or just the film of Spring Breakers as a whole?
If I must. The more it sits with me, the more I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's not a very enjoyable movie to watch, I'll say that.
Fair.
But it has good points to it.
Yeah.
I think if this came out today, I think it really would have popped off. I think the TikTok community would have been all over it.
I think I agree with that completely. I think we would have seen a very aesthetic change, despite seeing, I think it would have kept the colors and the craziness and a lot of like the people partying, but I think we would have seen much more social media, people live streaming, people doing this, like commenting on it on the internet. I think that would have been a huge part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure live streaming would have been, they probably would have live streamed the ending or something.
Alien and the girls would have TikTok dance.
Unfortunately, yes. I'm sure Alien would have been.
Unfortunately,
Alien probably would have been like a TikTok. That's probably would have been his niche.
Yeah.
Was being like a TikTok star.
He'd been an e-boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say so. That's.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Which I did the second time I watched it, so much that I didn't finish watching it. But I lasted.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming by. The Wizard of Oz himself, James Franco.
Yes.
Very good in this movie. I really liked his performance, especially this time around. I really not connected with Alien, but I bought into him so easily.
Yeah.
He's so interesting and charismatic.
He takes this insanity so seriously.
Yeah.
Like he's really working in like a classical thespian way of trying to understand who this character is. He's not just like ha ha ha, look at my shit. He's not going around.
Yeah.
He's really doing something. He's really like he did research and he had a lot of long conversations with Harmony about what he was trying to do.
We watched the outtakes before we watched the movie this time around, just because we were just killing time.
Yeah, we were just
And one of the outtakes was Harmony Korine kind of feeding him like the monologue about like how his friends and family members are dead, and like some kids want to be president, like I just want to be bad, and just watching that full unbroken shot of just James Franco talking,
and then James Franco takes a second and does the monologue.
Yeah,
was. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Amazing. Like awe. I was like, oh my God, James Franco, you're an actor.
He's an actor.
He's an actor.
And they intersperse like multiple different takes which I think he's using that in that context. Harmony is to show just how much of an influence these girls are on Alien and how they're goading him into this stuff.
Literally.
Where Alien was like, he talks big, but he wasn't actually going to go after Arch because he is scared of Arch. And it's these girls repeatedly harassing him and like making him do it.
Yeah, they're very toxic for each other.
There's also that great scene, which is a weird saying, great scene, but
Oh,
the scene where they put the guns in Alien's mouth and he
then
starts to deflate them.
Yeah.
It's where you immediately see the shift of power in their relationship.
Where-
Alien is no longer the trickster god. They are now like sirens who've like latched onto him. They are now controlling him.
And here's the thing, in a way, he is a means to their end.
Oh, exactly. He's a tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Alien was, if he, you can see in James Franco's performance, like he thought he was going to die, and he could do nothing about it.
Yeah.
And
here's the thing. I've seen this movie before, and I thought he was going to die.
Yeah.
That's what was insane. I was like, oh my God, they got him. So, moving on to the final point. Spring Break Forever. It has been 10 years since the release of this film. How does it hold up? Where does it stand in the echelons of 2010 cinema and just looking back?
Yeah. I don't think this movie has a cultural landmark at all, really. I don't think kids our age really talk about Spring Breakers.
No, it's never had that lasting power, but it is strangely representative of the era.
Yeah.
Like, very. I don't know a film that came out at that time that was very that on the
With
nose
the
of what's
exception
going
of like
on.
Wolf of Wall Street, there are a few films that from 2013 especially come to mind that have stuck culturally, really.
Wolf of Wall Street, being one of those ones,
Yeah.
essentially, does something very similar with this film,
Yeah.
except you have A-listers and Martin
I
Scorsese
think
in it.
in a few years' time, like 10 years' time from now on, I think Spring Breakers will exist mainly as, remember that one movie where Selena Gomez like partied in Florida? Or, you know, like stuff like that. Or like, remember when Ashley Benson was in that movie? Or when James Franco played like a white gangster?
Yeah.
Like it's gonna like exist in that context.
Yeah.
For me personally, my view of the legacy of this movie, this is the most I've loved this movie watching it.
Same.
I think this movie is, like I said, maybe accidental. Maybe he pulled an old Russell and he didn't really know what he was doing here. Because this is a 4.5, and so is American Hustle.
Interesting.
And I think this movie's nearly perfect.
Accidental Genius.
Genius.
Yeah.
As a Terrence Malick making like a Girls Gone Wild video, like it fits in that perfect like dichotomy of like filth and abstraction and artifice, and it's just beautiful.
I still have my reservations with the film because it doesn't change how gross I feel watching it. You know,
I don't know. I felt less gross this time.
Interesting.
I felt
still
more like.
Here's the thing: I respect the film. I enjoy watching it, but I'm still kind of like, ugh. Like it still reminds me, as it's supposed to. The film is working the way it's supposed to in my head. It still reminds me of this really damaging and insidious corner of our generation's youth culture.
Yeah.
Arguably the kids older than us, really the mid-phase millennials doing this. But I think that still reverberates for all time. We haven't changed that much from this. Kids all age. Yeah, so Spring Break Forever.
I wish that was this. Here's the thing. There's no way this movie's going to get a 4K release, especially because the 10th anniversary is kind of coming and going. Can you imagine if they released a 4K special edition called Spring Breakers, Spring Break Forever?
Here's the thing. For those of you who don't know, this is the first official film from a little production company known as
A24.
A24.
It's not the first, is it? There was a couple before it.
It's number one.
Is it really?
It is the first.
Wow.
They stalled it on Spring Breakers, and then it was Bling Ring. Bling Ring was like third or fourth.
The Life of Charles Swan was in there too.
Those are like the first A24 ones.
Yeah.
Because they were stalled out in New York City, correct?
Yes.
They're New York City based, yeah. A24, man.
A24.
They've been slapping since day one. Yeah, how does it feel to do this episode?
Feels nice.
For me, this was such a redemption.
Yeah.
Because this is the season 2, episode 8 we never got.
That we never got, yeah.
And I'm really happy we got to do it.
I'm glad we and I must say I wish the circumstances were different, but I think this episode is better for the fact that we did wait. You know, we would have done an extended edition on the radio anyway, but we're in the radio studio. We're limited to like we can talk for like maybe an hour before someone's like, "Hey, you got to get out of here," or like I have to go to class or something. You know,
have some other engagement that just cuts us
now
off.
You're drinking an Arnold Palmer, and we're sitting on the floor of my home, so it's a very different context.
This has been our discussion of Spring Breakers this week, a decade ago. If you've seen this movie, congrats.
Congrats. Yeah.
Congrats.
Here's the thing. We actually get like engagement in the comments. If you were one of the 5 people that have ever commented on one of these videos, if you're that one guy who really loves Leonardo DiCaprio and live commented on the video
as he was watching it, or if you're really into Guardians of Gahul,
Legend of the
Guardians of
Guardians
of
Owls of Gahul. There
Yes,
we go.
We got it. Or if you're Steve.
Or if you're Steve.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Steve.
We appreciate you commenting every time. We miss you. You're a good friend. And tell us how we did.
Thanks, Steve.
As always, if you want to see the movies we talked about during the Film and era, they're on Connor's Letterboxd, Cranberry18, CRAND, Berry18, seasons 1 through 4. Seasons 5 and 6 are on my Letterboxd at DA_N. Got anything else coming out? Any other episodes notable?
Well, the Andes.
The Andes, yes.
The 4th annual Andy Awards
show.
Yeah.
Which
we have to do one more movie for your consideration.
Yes.
That I'm making Dan watch. If you know the nominations, Dan has yet to see Bones and All.
Yes.
So
we'll be watching it
today,
basically
later.
A little bit from now.
And the thing is, it's no longer on HBO Max. I'm paying $6 to watch Bones and All.
And I am thanking him for that. We will see you for the Andes, unless they came out before this. Thanks for listening to the Andes. Thanks for listening to this episode. A big thank you for Erica for coming in and hanging out for a minute or two on this episode, and for watching Spring Breakers with us. And that's about all we have for this week.
That's all we have.
Have a lovely rest of your week, and you will hear from us next time.
Bye, guys.